Hi, I'm Meghan Sheffield.
I'm Katie Flindall.
We're the artists behind Critical Mass's show Frog and Toad Live Right Here. And right now we are right here in the Capitol Theatre on the set for their show A Year with Frog and Toad.
I'm an artist and illustrator. I do a lot of different things, whether it be like just small watercolors to large mural installations, set design. I've done children's books. For many years I made prints and cards of my artwork and went to art shows.
My background is primarily as a writer, including as a journalist, but also as a poet and just about a lifelong zine maker. So Frog and Toad Live Right Here is a collaborative show that Katie and I worked on together with students across Northumberland, really, at Beatrice Strong Public School, Port Hope High School, and with the CCI Art Club. So we worked with students from grade 4 up to grade 12 to create a physical map, is what we called it, a landscape that was built with paper and recycled objects, collaged really, I would say.
I would say so, and natural elements for sure. Like we used pine cones and sticks and stuff like that. We had 4 sections, 4 wood sections. We cut a piece of plywood and smoothed the edges and made it a little more organic looking. But eventually those 4 pieces were put together
to create this like sculpted landscape that was inspired by Frog and Toad's world, and also meant to like incorporate and remind us that Frog and Toad's world is also our world where we live.
We had a few guidelines. We tried not to keep it too structured, but we had a color theme. So we had a couple tones of green and brown and gray and white, and so that our land physically looked like the stories of Frog and Toad. We really wanted the kids to be creative and dig into the project however they felt like they wanted to, and sometimes it was things that related to the kids. Like one boy loved creating little wood piles and an axe on a stump, and that definitely fit into Frog and Toad. So letting kids have that freedom to fit in however they wanted to fit in. But beyond that, we didn't have a lot of guidelines. Tried to limit the amount of hot glue and just pouring paint on top, but it was really fun to see what the kids could create from those stories, but also their own stories onto the land. There were certainly challenges. We had one section that we just weren't sure what it was going to become. It was a hodgepodgey shape with lots of paint and glue and sides falling in.
And it stayed wet for days and days and days.
Had to use the hairdryer forever. Actually, I was just using my hairdryer this morning, and it's covered in paint from Frog and Toad.
Arnold Lobel's palette.
This like mushy thing that we weren't sure what it was became the amphitheater, and like a part of the Frog and Toad land that had such a central piece to play. Art just slowly transforms and you don't know where it's going to become, and you kind of look at it sometimes, you're like, where is this going? Is this going to become something? It always does.
The scale was one thing that I was sort of worried about. How are we gonna manage the scale in a way that makes sense? And Katie was like, I don't think, let's not worry about it. I was just amazed to see the way that like that was part of the collaborative process, I think, where the young artists saw like what others were doing and kind of made their piece make sense or not. And that is something actually from the books, like Frog and Toad live in this world where they have like huge tall grass and daisies the size of trees, and all of that kind of like makes sense within this miniature world. The other part of this project was zine making with illustration and writing and micro-publishing with students, especially very young students, grade 4 to 6 were the most prolific zine writers that we worked with for this project. I feel like the zines brought this like animating quality to the overall work because we didn't really end up with any characters in the land. The land is like fairly empty. There is, I think, one little turtle guy. Like I think one looks at the land and needs to like imagine who could live here, and you know, yeah, it's not filled with little frogs and toads by any means, and yet the zines are. Almost every zine has a pair of friends, and friendship is like this really constant theme throughout so many of the zines. What really stood out to me with this project was the kids were really free and comfortable, maybe also because it's their own space, but yeah, they really jumped in there. I think self-direction in learning and in experiences in life is an important value
being able to take a little bit more leadership in like their own little space on the world. Like that was really neat to see. A lot of like really wonderful art and things that become really wonderful art are things that, you know, you didn't all have the same sheet of the coloring book page that you needed to mass reproduce. It comes from a much more unique and like open boundaries. Like you have some constraints, like we had our color palette, but keeping that open really is what creativity and like moving creativity through our world is all about.
Our 2024 season at the Capitol kicks off with A Year with Frog and Toad, and this is the first time that in this time frame we've done youth and family programming at the Capitol. So when we were thinking about how we could create partnerships with community organizations, immediately we thought of Critical Mass because we share so many values, we share so many ideas about how art can activate communities, and we want to get young people engaged. Critical Mass has this unique ability to sort of transcend age, and your work tends to hit the old and the young and everyone in between. And with this production, we're trying to do the same thing. We're trying to tell people that coming to the theater can be and should be a multi-generational experience. One of the things that I discovered when I came here, Debbie, is this amazing gallery space that we have here. And, you know, it's hard because we need this to be our lobby. It has to be used all the time by hundreds of people, but it's also a space that like asks to be activated and asks to be full of more art. And so working with Critical Mass to create, this is now our second time we've had a Critical Mass exhibition here, and I hope it's the second of many, because for kids to be able to come and see artwork that has been inspired by and facilitated by professionals, but is created by their fellow young people in their community, and to have the zines that are able to be touched and felt and to see the work on the walls, I think it enhances the imagination going into a show like A Year with Frog and Toad.
Knowing that the Capitol Theatre has a lot of shared and common values with us, and bringing diverse and contemporary perspectives to these older stories of like Arnold Lobel, and bringing that to the stage and breaking down barriers so that access for art is really something that all ages, all abilities can enjoy. So what we really love to do is, you know, bringing artists into the community, into the school, and having those intergenerational moments where they're learning a new skill, they're, you know, getting their hands dirty and mucky and throwing paint around, and like really like starting to like build a sense of passion for the arts, or just a sense of play, and getting to let go a little bit and care for each other within their own communities.
That's what makes it a valuable partnership.